This is Unit 7, Circles, Preview Video 7.5, Circle Circumference and Area. Sit tall. Ready? Inhale. Deep breath, hold. And birthday candle. Close your eyes. Ready, inhale. Hold. Exhale. Make sure you get date, time, and location of this video. And don't forget a parental sign-off. Taking a look here, our vocabulary. You're going to need your calculator today. I also recommend a straight edge and some colors. Your vocabulary: circle, radius, diameter, circumference, area, and pi. In the following circle, trace the circumference of the circle and trace the diameter. So for each of these, I want you to trace the circumference and trace the diameter. Trace the circumference, trace the diameter. Trace the circumference, trace the diameter. All circles have the same shape. Same shape, just a different size. Same shape, different size defines similarity. So all circles, regardless of how their size, are similar. Same shape, different size. Remember, similarity is congruent angles and ratios, which are equal. Congruent angles, ratios, equal. Those are the qualities of similarity, better known as scare. Congruent angles, ratios, equal. I like you to box ratios equal. Since all circles have equal ratios, there's a very particular ratio that we're looking at today. There's a very special ratio in which you divide the circumference by the diameter. And since all circles, box this, are similar, this ratio will be equal for all circles, regardless of their shape is not the right word, their size. Similarity is congruent angles, ratios, equal. So this is the ratio that is very special, that is true in all circles. And that is the ratio of, if ratio means division, if you take the circumference of a circle and you divide by the diameter, you get the same ratio. Remember, ratio is a fraction, which is a decimal. And that ratio is what we commonly call pi. Circumference divided by diameter gets you the same ratio for all circles. And that ratio, remember, ratio means fraction, decimal, a comparison by division, ultimately, which we're doing. And it's because it's so special, we give it a unique symbol, which is the pi symbol, the Greek letter pi. So we know this, the circumference divided by the diameter equals pi. We're going to use algebra and we're going to isolate the circumference here, isolate. So I'm going to times both sides by diameter. So circumference equals diameter times pi. Now, because 2 radii equal a diameter, 2 radii equal a diameter, 2 radii equals a diameter in length. On SATs and PSATs, it looks like this, 2 pi r. I personally will never use 2 pi r to define circumference. What I will consistently use in our class is circumference equals d pi. I feel it's much simpler, less likely to get mixed up with area. And this is why. Area of a circle. I'd like you to just shade the circle. To find the area of that circle, you're going to square the radius times pi r squared. That's for area. And 2 pi r and pi r squared, because there's a 2 in both. Sometimes students mix those up, so I will never use this. So here's your equation for circumference. Circumference equals diameter pi, and this area equals pi, parentheses are important there, r squared. C d pi, I c d pi, C d pi, I c d pi. Apple pie is really, really good. Apple pie is really, really good. C d pi, I c d pi, C d pi, I c d pi. Apple pie is really, really good. Apple pie is really, really good. Yeah, you're going to sing that until you drive your parents crazy today. At least I hope so. So, C d pi, I c d pi. That's circumference. Apple pie is really, really good. Really, really, r squared. Apple pie is really, really good. I'll show you how to use your calculators. Keep in mind, most calculators do have a pi key. On some calculators, the pi key is visible. So if you have a smaller calculator, that pi key is right there. The TI-84s, to get to the pi key, you have to hit the shift button and then this button right here. That gets you pi, and it'll give you that big decimal 3.14 blah, 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 and on you go. But in the TI-84, you have to hit shift. Given the diameter or radius, find the circumference and the area of the circle. Express your answer in exact terms. Exact is the most accurate, and exact means to leave the pi symbol in your answer. And then approximate, in which you turn it into a decimal form without pi. Exact form is actually preferred most of the time. So we're going to write our equations for both of these. C equals d pi. Apple pie is really, really good. There's our two equations. So for the first one, C equals d pi. Ready? Our diameter is 18. So our circumference is simply going to be d 18 pi miles. That's it, you're done. Okay, and this one here, let's do them all over at it. Our radius is 6, our diameter is 12. So our circumference here is going to be 12 pi centimeters. Here, circumference equals d pi. Our diameter here is 10. So our circumference is 10 pi inches. Area, pi r squared. So our radius here, our radius is 9, our radius is 6, and our radius is 5. So pi r squared, we're going to square 9, and our area here is 81 pi, and now your units are squared, miles squared. Here, we're going to go 36, 6 squared, 36 pi centimeters squared. Here, 25 pi inches squared. So that's area and that's circumference. Now we'll get the approximate form, so you can get your calculators out. So this first one, the circumference is 18 pi. So I have a pi key right here. So I do 18 times pi. And I'm going to round it to the first decimal place, 56.5.
It's 650.
So we're going to go approximation sign and 56.5 miles for that one. And then we'll do 12 pi. So 12 times the pi key. First decimal, 37.7 please make sure you're getting these numbers also on your calculators. And then, of course, 10 times pi. 31.4. Notice I'm using the approximate sign, 31.4 inches. Don't forget units. Down here, 81 pi. $254.5. Miles squared. 36 pi for the second one. So 36 times pi, 113.1 centimeters squared, 25 pi. All of these you can estimate just by timesing by 3 in your head, so you know that you're in the right direction. So 25 times 3 is approximately 75. So we're now going to be close to 75. And we get 78.5. Approximately inches squared. In general, the pi form or the exact form is preferred. I'll do a couple problems with you. The circumference of a circle is 18 pi centimeters. What is the area of the circle expressed in exact terms? So step 1, the circumference of a circle. So just trace it, circumference. So I'm going like this, circumference of a circle is 18 pi centimeters. What is the area? Area we always shade to get it in our brains. We're looking for area. Area, question mark. Always write down the equations that we're working with. We know C d pi, I C d pi. So C equals d pi. And in this case, circumference equals 18 pi. Therefore, these are equivalent. You can say d pi, 18 pi. I'm going to isolate the diameter. And I get here that the fact that the diameter is 18. Now we come here to the area. And area is going to be pi, parentheses, r squared. So you always trace what you want. We want the radius, which is 9. So it's 9 squared times pi is your area. It says express in exact terms. That means no calculator. 81 pi centimeters squared. There you go. That is your exact form of this area. Always write out every equation associated with what's going on. This time you're given the area of a circle is 200 pi. Area of a circle is 200 pi. Meters squared. What is the circumference? So we're being asked to go the other direction. What is the circumference? Circumference equals d pi. So obviously what we need here is the diameter. So we come over here, write out the equation for area. And since this is equal, I can now write this as equal 200 pi equals pi, parentheses, r squared. I'm going to divide both sides by pi. I end up with radius squared equals 200. The opposite of squaring is square rooting. And that's not a perfect square, so I have to factor. And I know that's 2 times 100. 100 is perfect. It's going to come out as 10. So my radius is going to be 10 root 2. Units, meters. That's my radius, 10 root 2. 10 root 2, which means my diameter is 20 root 2. Now I have everything I need. My diameter is 20 root 2. Pi is my circumference. And now we're done. Oh, meters. We want our answers in exact terms, so you're done with that radical. Says the circumference of a circle is 37.699 centimeters. What is the approximate decimal area? Now notice you want the approximate. This is where you're going to get your calculator out. So we are told the circumference of the circle, C, equals 37.699 centimeters. And we write out the equation, C equals d pi. We're looking for the area. And apple pie is really, really good. So that's what we want is the area. So we need the radius here. If those are equal, these are equal. So I can write You're like, what on earth do I do with this? Well, really simple. We're going to divide by pi. Now you get your calculators. Now I want you to actually do this on your calculator so you can see it. Don't just watch the video. It's important you're doing this on your own calculator so that you know how to use it. It's important you know how to use your own calculator. Calculator, not cell phone. Ready? So we're going to go 37.699. And we're dividing by that pi key, preferably the pi key, not 3.14. Notice you're getting 11.99999. Obviously, we're going to round, okay, because that's really close to the whole number of 12. So we just found, realize what you just found. You found the diameter. Diameter is approximately 12 centimeters. So we draw it here. The whole thing is 12. Each of the radii are 6. So area equals pi, 6 times 6. Our area is going to be 36 pi centimeters squared, and the approximate form of that, get out your calculators. Clear? 36 times pi. 113.1 approximately. cm squared. All right, these 3 problems you're going to try on your own. 1, 2, 3, then we'll correct it, and then this last one you'll do also on your own. So pause the video and attempt all of these on your own, then get a red pen. Pause the video. Okay, students, really, really important that you actually tried these on your own to the best of your own ability. I'm going to be looking for that you worked in pencil and you correct in red pen. It's important you make your own mistakes. Okay, let's go over these. My explanation will be a little faster since you're correcting and not learning. So here, the area you were given. Area equals pi r squared. Area equals 64 pi meters squared. We're asked for the circumference, which is d pi. So you should have had 64 pi equals pi, parentheses r squared. You solve for the radius here, and your radius should equal 8, which means your diameter, c, equals 16 pi meters. There's your answer for the first one, 16 pi meters. We're given the circumference of the circle here. C equals 36 pi cm. We want the area, which means we need the radius. So C d pi, I c d pi, 36 pi equals d pi. We come here. If we were to solve for the d, our diameter equals 36. That means our radius is half of 36, which is 18. So our area equals pi 18 times 18. And it's 324. Area equals 324 pi, and units, centimeters squared. Correct your work. This one. This is called the South Rose window of the Chartres Cathedral in France. And you are told the circumference, going around like this. C equals 34.56. Underneath, C equals d pi. So 34.56 equals diameter pi. To solve, I'm going to divide both sides by pi, and that's going to give me my diameter. 34.56 divided by the pi symbol. And you can see here that that's very, very close to 11, which we're just going to call it at 11. So our diameter is 11 meters, which is very large. So keep in mind that that's your diameter all the way across. We want to find the area of the window. So if the diameter is 11, your radius is half of 11, which is 5.5. Area equals pi, parentheses, r squared, 5.5 squared times pi. So you do 5.5 squared first, then times the pi key. And the area of this window is massive, is 95.03 meters squared. You should be correcting with the red pen, and if you didn't know how to do something, you should be correcting it or where you got something wrong. Last one. Says right here, the front wheel diameter of an average Harley Davidson is 25 inches. So keep in mind what we have here is a diameter. Okay, a diameter across is 25 inches. Diameter, 25 inches. If you rode this motorcycle San Jose to San Francisco about 60 miles, how many revolutions, go like this, revolutions, would it be? Keep in mind the word revolution is the same as circumference. So what we're asking here, hopefully you got started, is if you had a distance of 60 miles, how many times would this wheel revolve in order to travel that distance? Because every time it turned, it would travel forward a certain amount of distance. That traveling forward is the length of your circumference, c equals d pi. So that's the first thing we're going to find. Circumference equals diameter times pi. So it's 25 inches times pi. We're going to get the approximate form since we have to do something else with it, the decimal you should have. So 25 times pi, 78.5. And that's inches. So every time that wheel turned, it moved forward 78.5 inches. But our distance is not in inches, it's in miles. So for every 1 mile, there's 5,280 feet. And for every foot, there's 12 inches. So to get our 60 miles into inches, watch, it's 60 miles times 5,280 feet times 12 inches. It's going to be a massive number. $60 miles times 5,000. Whoops, I think it's the other way around. Hang on. Is it 582? It's 5280. Okay, 5280. I had that right the first time. Okay, so we're going to go 60 miles times 5280 feet times 12 inches. So between San Jose and San Francisco is 228,096,000 inches. 228,096,000 inches. That's our distance in inches. We want to figure out how many circumferences, revolutions go into that. So we're going to divide by our circumference, 78.5 inches. Notice the align. So I'm going to divide by 78.5, and I get approximately, whoops, make sure we're reading that number correctly. Approximately 37,015 revolutions. So that Harley Davidson wheel revolves approximately 37,015 revolutions from San Jose to San Francisco. I'd like you to write a note about what is it that was key to understanding this problem if you did not get it correct. Reflect and think things through. Summarize what you learned today in your own words.